Everybody, welcome back to another video. And The Last Dance has come to an end. It's crazy that 5 weeks have already passed by. The Last Dance has ended. We really need basketball back. Pretty much. I really miss basketball. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but just literally watching these past 10 episodes, my craving for basketball is at an all-time high. But funny enough, we're talking about basketball in this video. The two people you're currently looking at are the two of the most successful people in the NBA of all time. Yeah, I'm being dead serious. Not Michael Jordan, not LeBron James, but Steve Kerr and Phil Jackson. 21 championships. 21. Let me reiterate, 21 championships between them. But few would say that any of these two were amazing basketball players. Steve Kerr was a bench player for the majority of his career, and Phil Jackson was decent at best. But here we are, looking at two people with 21 championships between them, despite not being anywhere near the best players in the game, because they knew their roles and worked on excelling at it. Steve Kerr is more popularly known today for being the head coach of the Golden State Warriors. I'm sure most of you have heard the name Steph Curry. Well, that's Steph Curry's coach. He is now considered one of the most successful coaches in basketball, but he was a bench player for the vast majority of his playing days. The reason I'm saying all of this is that when growing up, we all tend to dream about being the best in whatever it is we want to do. We all dream about being Michael Jordan, Cristiano Ronaldo, Roger Federer, not Scott Burrell. But if sports highlights one thing that The Last Dance spoke in depth about, is that every person associated with a team knows their role. From the owner of the Chicago Bulls to the last guy on the bench, each person played a vital role in that team being so dominant. Some of you might scratch your head at this and think, what does the guy who barely plays have to do with helping the team win? Lots, actually. I'll go as far as saying that the Bulls do not win any titles without these guys, and I'm being very serious. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman. Those names have been said plenty of times throughout this documentary, because they were obviously the best players on the team. But the John Paxsons, the Scott Burrells, the Dickie Simpkins are rarely talked about, but they all played vital roles in the Bulls being so dominant. They trained with these guys day in and day out. They traveled with them on the planes, and they built this great team camaraderie, which builds that trust that shows on the court. I mentioned in the other video how Michael Jordan punched Steve Kerr once, during practice, and oddly enough that made them closer. In episode 9 of The Last Dance, the Chicago Bulls were facing the Utah Jazz in the '97 NBA Finals. In the title-clinching game with the time winding down, game is tied 86-86, and everyone and their mother expected Jordan to take the final shot. But due to the trust that Steve Kerr had earned from MJ over the course of the year, MJ passed the ball to Steve Kerr as all the defenders swarmed him, and Steve made the shot which ended up clinching their 5th championship. Steve Kerr is by no means one of the best players of all time, but he has 5 championships as a player because he accepted his role and learned to excel at it. He had a few shots per game compared to Jordan's multiple. He played a few minutes, and some games he wouldn't play at all. Phil Jackson was a decent player with 2 championships, but his name became famous as a coach, having won 11 championships. I'm sure both of them grew up dreaming about being the best player in the league, yet that didn't happen. However, they realized they both had important roles to play, whether it had to be as a head coach or a player or a role player, and put all their efforts into excelling at that for the greater good of the team. In life, we all won't be the best at what we do, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. We need to realize that God's plan is God's plan, and God's plan takes priority over ours. You might have wanted that job in another country, but you didn't get it because God wanted you to stay in your city to meet your future partner, and that's how you ended up having your son, who went on to be one of the greatest footballers of all time. You see, sometimes you just have to accept your path and work hard at being the best you can in whatever path you're going on. Steve Kerr wanted to be the best basketball player, but God's plan was different, and he now has 8 championships so far. Not everyone will be an entrepreneur, and that's okay. Some people are more than content being told what to do. All I ask of those people is that they do what they're told to do to the best of their abilities. You know your role at work. You know your role in your family. You know your role amongst your peers. Sometimes it doesn't go exactly like you planned, but that could be a blessing in disguise, honestly. Life is funny like that. Steve Kerr and Phil Jackson understood this, and that's why they are two of the most successful NBA people of all time. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. I had a great time doing research for this, as finding information for Michael Jordan is easy, but finding information on the other guys was a bit hard because they're not as well known. It's a bit bittersweet that The Last Dance has ended, but if ESPN has learned anything by how popular the series is, we need to have a Kobe Shaq 2000-2004 documentary ASAP.